Crypto Nana, exit liquidity hodl Nana, dump it all. Crypto Nana, exit liquidity hodl Nana, dump it all.
Crypto Nana, exit liquidity, hodl Nana, dump it all. From the day we arrive on the blockchain and blinking step into the trade, there's more to lose than can ever be won, more to dump than can never be saved. Influencers, tweets, and the noobs all follow, buying high, selling low, what a game. But the boomers know, and Sailor, he knows that the dump is coming. It's all the same. It's the circle of exit liquidity, and it moves us all through despair and hope, through faith and FOMO, till we find our place on the path unwinding in the circle of exit liquidity. Some of us fall by the wayside, and some of us soar to the stars, but the influencers always win with the Lambos and their cars. So beware of the pump and the inevitable dump, for the cycle continues and the news get wrecked. Nana, exit liquidity hodl Nana, dump it all. Crypto Nana, exit liquidity hodl Nana, dump it all. Crypto Nana, exit liquidity, dump it all. Hodl Nana, dump it all. It's the circle of exit liquidity, and it moves us all through despair and hope, through faith and FOMO, till we find our place on the path unwinding in the circle of exit liquidity. Dump it all.
There will be no real non-controlled currency in the world.
We're coming for you, banks.
Listening to different podcasts, like in a whole different reality, which they think completely different things about Bitcoin.
They have got my money in their banking system. I should be able to access it, right?
Appler is live.
There's a good number of fucking, like, pretty smart bee catchers.
Hello and welcome back to the Bitcoin Cash podcast. Following Bitcoin Cash on its rise to global reserve currency, this is episode number 166, KONK Marketplace and Predictions Markets featuring NeonDaThal. Today is Sunday, the 9th of November, 2025. I'm your host, Jeremy. Jet is doing the producing, and on the prize, the Zlippening Zcash has actually flipped at BCH this week. So good for them. They are bringing digital cash to the world. BCH USD $497.48 for 100 megasats, down a little bit. One BTC sat buys only 206.1 BCH sats, so that's flat. And one ETH buys 694 megasats, so we've improved against ETH. Selene, 30-day users 594, and the token TVL 11,469. We've got the community comment of the week here. Zcash VCs backdoored organic. What is going on with this giant Zcash pump? I had Bastian Carmichael said, if Naval is talking it up, my bet is on VC funds. And Gucci Man replied, coincidentally, meme coins are dead, which were pumped by VCs and crypto firms. Maybe they moved on, ? So I just wanted to get some thoughts on this. This has been the generational run of the 10 or 15x Zcash over the last couple of months. NeonDaThal, what do you make of it? Is it a government psyop? Is it just being pumped by VCs? Is it organic? What's going on here?
My take is I think it's a bit of everything. I think I do think that it's got some kind of elite government involvement in it. But I don't necessarily think it's on the technical side. There may be that, obviously there's talk of backdoors and things like that, but I don't necessarily think that it's on that tech side. But what's interesting for me is how similar it is to BTC in the for people that aren't aware, on the Zcash forums, there were kind of a lot of admittance that they discussed with local government, and I don't know how high up that goes, whether it goes to kind of CIA or whatever, but the people who are running Zcash have had contact with the government, basically, which can't be good for anybody, especially if they're going to then set any rules and regulations around that and maybe protect Zcash. So I think it's kind of similar to BTC, the social layer of having dictation coming from government to the people who are running Zcash. That's the problem. It's not whether the tech's good and whether how private it is, but it's the fact of when it comes to upgrades and decision making for the direction of Zcash, where's it actually coming from? Yes. And so the people who are running things behind the scenes, how much? Well, I know that they've received a lot of money from government, so it's just not in the ethos of being decentralized, of being free from those tentacles of the government. So I think for me, it's the social layer that's the issue. I don't know what you guys have seen.
Well, I'm trying to not, wade into it all too much, because it's the kind of thing that I know I need to do a lot more reading about. I've certainly seen accusations flying around all over the place. I know that the Monero community has been very upset about this, which kind of is evidence in both directions, right? Because on one hand, they might be the ones who had looked into it all and sort of figured out, okay, this is like nonsense, or there's something shady going on here. But on the other hand, they are also just primed to be upset because that that's their ego investment. We are the #1 privacy coin, but we're so superior. And now, the market doesn't agree with them. So of course they're going to be salty and upset about that. So I don't know about that. I saw somebody saying that, there's some kind of the Zcash headquarters or whatever is right in Washington or in Virginia, or it's down the road from the CIA or something. Seems a little bit sus. Even the fact that they have a headquarters at all is obviously not necessarily that decentralized. But similar to, all these coins with foundations, they have a company, the Electric Coin Company. I haven't looked into that. which sort of runs things and has like, it reminds me a bit of ETH. Like they have a kind of central foundation that does stuff, and then they're getting a huge pump now. So those guys will be mega rich, which will help them, snowball things further. But then on the other hand, whatever deals are being made behind the scenes to either make that happen or that will happen as a result of that happening are then going to be liabilities in the future. Like, I don't know. I don't really know. There's criticism about, is it transparent or the private addresses, but you can encourage people to use the private addresses, but not everybody does. But there was some kind of trusted setup, but maybe it was backdoored, but maybe they changed the algorithm. There's so many different elements to it that I'm just need to look into it. I don't know, Jet, have you looked into this? Do you know? No idea.
No. I was just going to mention that for me, one of the red flags was that they were really open about the fact that they were meeting with government officials, and that the focus of that, or the objective of that, was for them to get favorable regulation for their project. And straight off the bat, that's really kind of really against what cryptocurrency and what being decentralized and making sure that everybody can use it and all of this sort of thing. And it's really just against all of that, because if you've got government meetings going on, nothing good's going to come out of that at the end of the day. I don't think. I can't see kind of an end goal for the community that's anything but kind of it being captured and controlled again.
Yes. Well, I mean, I think there's an element where it's kind of good that it is pumping and all that, because partially it's even in the name Zcash, BCH are being slandered as Bcash. Well, Zcash, Bcash, maybe people start to get the idea of like, oh yeah, digital cash is kind of the vibe. So I like that it's providing a counterpoint to the whole number go up hodl thing. And then the fact that their price is going up, but they're still saying, okay, the price is going up, that's good, guys, but actually it's all about digital cash. That's kind of helping to reorient the industry. The number go up gets people's attention, and then maybe they start thinking, oh yeah, maybe because what BCH really needs to thrive in the end of the day is just this one giant lie about BTC to break, right? That it's digital gold, store of value, number go up, all that stuff. And we're getting there. We're slowly getting there over time. Slowly people are like, okay, is there any values or anything behind this if it's just number go up? And so Zcash is putting a big spanner in the works there. So I'm very hopeful on that part of it, but it might also be that, yeah, they just get a huge pump, then they just dump off, and then they're never heard from again. That could happen. Could be that they're a contender consistently in the top 10. I don't know. I definitely don't feel like threatened about it from the BCH point of view, because like you say, they've already got enough things going on with having a central. It just kind of reinforces how special it is for the Bitcoin chains, BCH, BTC, to not have a known founder. And like, it would be virtually impossible, it seems, in today's age where surveillance is so much more prevalent, to actually launch a coin completely off the radar in the way Satoshi did, let alone not use any of the initial funds, vanish, have it be adopted by a community. That part is just increasingly impossible to replicate. So I think we've also got that.
That's one of the big problems with crypto in general, and being able to cut through the zeitgeist really is that there's people out with pumps and things. There's a huge kind of population of people out there who just don't care. They don't care that it may have connections to government. They don't care that in the future this might happen to it, or they don't care necessarily that they can use it for this or for that. There's a massive community of people who are just like, yeah, government involvement, they're controlling the regulation. Let's go. Let's pump my bags. And it's sad to see, but it's hard to get through on social media, because some of it can be organic, but you have all the bots coming and doing the same sort of pumping and promotion and marketing, and it's really hard to get through that kind of mess that there is online, because that's the only thing they think there is with cryptocurrency. So that's a question for BCH, is how do we get through all of that kind of pump and dump and just kind of that number go up mentality?
Yeah,
So
well,
it's,
that's where it becomes like a dead internet type of theory. I'm fascinated by those ideas that people have these theories that the internet has been mostly bots for, varying degrees of time. But certainly now in the age of LLMs, you see it once in a while. Somebody talks to an account that seems kind of legit, but then they somehow trigger it into giving like a very bot-like answer that an actual person would not give. And then you think, okay, well, so that all these different things, like some of the people on Twitter or whatever that I know that I have met personally, I'm fairly confident they're not a bot, although even that you can't be sure. They could have put a bot on their account some of the time. People have been saying that about Adam Back, like, oh, this isn't actually him, or it's an intern, or it's like whatever, just because he's constantly obsessively posting about it all the time. And sometimes now they find his things suspicious. Of course, they didn't before. But anyway, the point is, like, it's possible and increasingly likely that the whole internet is basically just the bots, and the real humans are just getting crowded out. So we kind of need a return to networking in person or something to avoid that. But the internet is so useful that it's so hard to compete in the modern economy without that interconnectivity. So finding the balance there is tough for sure.
Yeah, I mean, another point, and I think this will lead into kind of looking at KONK and that sort of thing as well, is I do think therein lies the answer to a lot of what we're searching for, is the real world. Like all of us, we're kind of always online, we're always communicating online, discussing with each other, but there's a huge base of people out there who don't spend as much time online and who have a lot of their own issues in their lives that can be kind of solved with BCH. And it's those people who aren't following all of these kind of stories, online stories and online trends and things like that, that if we can get through to those people, it can make a big difference. It's the people who kind of reject a lot of the tech stuff, but they are now starting to see that their lives are getting more difficult with the things that are going on in all the different countries. So I think like what you've just said is really prevalent, and really it's important for us to be able to connect with people in real life. And I think we'll see through those personal connections, we're going to start to see a lot more growth there as well, without it being influenced by the stuff that goes on online, such as the bots and other things, because obviously you can't get bots in real life.
Yes,
as far as we know,
might not last much longer either. But we're going to have a completely brand new strategy once that's no longer true. But it's going to be like they live, I like the BCH community.
Yeah,
sunglasses. Like we're going to need to build some scanner tech or something to be like, am I talking to a real person? Or even like web of trust, I think is a fascinating idea. We have one of the bounties actually for Blaze is for somebody to go and look into this web of trust stuff. I think it would be so fascinating if, for instance, I could give on my Selene wallet, I can mint a cash token, Jeremy Trust or whatever, and I give one to you, and then I give one to Jet, and then if the posts that I'm seeing in my feed from some kind of Twitter style application or something is based on that person's connectivity through those tokens. So if it's somebody that you trust and the Jet trust and that I maybe trust, but even if I don't, it's one you two are trusting, and then it goes up, and if it's not, then it goes down, because I feel like that was originally how social media was supposed to work, but then over time and it did for a while, but then it's aggregated down into these algorithmic feeds at like a global scale. It doesn't have so much of, I want to hear what my friends or people I know are talking about. It's become more just like a messy global conversation,
Sure. And funnily, I wasn't aware of the Web of Trust plans and ideas, so I'd be interested to find out who's working on that, because that's very relevant to KONK as well. So I don't know, because I'd had a similar, again, very, very similar to that, but I don't know if you want to discuss that now or leave it kind of.
No, we'll leave it. We'll leave it in a second. But it's basically, this is the world, it's kind of like modern problems require modern solutions, right? Thinking about the world of bots and so forth. Well, we're gonna have to build some
I mean,
answers.
in real life, that's how it works, isn't it? When you
Yes.
transact with somebody in real life, not online, that's how it works. You especially when transacting in cash, you're doing it based on trust. Somebody may have recommended. You may have dealt with this person many times before. If you haven't, you have to weigh up the risks and the benefits to the transaction, and it's very, very similar to kind of zero conf versus waiting for confirmations. Is in real life, you go and weigh up. Well, this guy's selling me, I don't know, a cabinet, and they're telling me to go and meet them in a car park at the back of a supermarket that's not well lit. That all of these sorts of things. And so you weigh up your risks. You're like, okay, do I want to go and do that? And am I happy to do it? Fine. But if you're not, then you'd be like, okay, I don't want to do that. I'd like you to come to a well-lit place, and I'm going to bring some friends and family with me to make sure I'm safe, kind of thing. But yeah, it's the trust is important to how we make decisions these days. But online, it seems that people have outsourced their trust to the services that they're using. And that's an issue as well, because you're only as safe as the service wants you to be, basically. And that's what we want to move away from, I guess, in general, isn't it? With decentralization, is we don't want to have to trust anybody.
I mean, it comes back to this idea. I quite like this idea, although I haven't done a deep dive on it, of like CogSec. People talk about like cognitive security. Are we in this age of sort of informational warfare, sort of Matrix or Minority Report style, where propaganda has existed for all of human history, but we're now just in an age where, especially with AI as well, that's just taking it up another level. You already have the rigged financial markets, and you already have global connectivity and virtualization with the internet. But then once you have AI, the ability to make any kind of video or media seem convincing to the point that you can't really spot it. Like there was already faking stuff in court documents and so forth, but that's now just beyond the scale of if anybody can just mass produce any fake thing, and the only credibility you can get comes from some kind of social trust in that somebody who believes in it, or maybe markets. We're going to talk a little bit about prediction markets is maybe another way. People have skin in the game, and then something turns out to be false. That's maybe one way of determining truth.
Yeah, I mean, as well, like we'll touch a little bit, I guess, shortly on the global lotto as well, and having kind of a provably fair algorithm. And again, with that is when people play lottery all over the world, how do they know? All of these lotteries are run by their governments. How do they know that they're legit and that the government's not just making up figures and whatever?
They don't, basically.
Yeah, I can't remember who. I was speaking to somebody online, and this was in the UK, and they said, "I work in a local shop, and we sell lotto, and so if they have a lottery on, say, a Saturday, they said we have all the point of sale advertising and promo for the following week printed with the jackpot on it. So how do they know what the jackpot's going to be back? Because it's supposed to be based on how many lottery tickets they sold. How do they know that kind of a week and a half in advance? So whether it's fully kind of faked or whatever, or partially, it's definitely not kind of 100% legit. And then I don't know if you saw the story about, I can't remember if it was the day after Jeffrey Epstein's trial, that there was a lotto in the US that one of his local lotteries, that one of his legal managers won the jackpot the day after he'd been sentenced, just randomly. And it was, I thought, oh, that's actually brilliant, kind of brilliant timing.
Yes. Oh man, wow. Yes, yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know enough about I like that saying that they have, which is the lottery is gambling, casinos similarly is a tax on the mathematically uneducated. I've always quite liked that saying. I actually quite like sort of gambling in a way. I'm very interested in risk and, financial markets, mathematics, statistics, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm actually quite interested in it, but I don't have the type of personality that goes to put $5 on a blackjack and then before you know it, I've lost my whole like life savings or something. Like, you know, I feel for people who genuinely have that. You know, it's a funny thing about humans in general is that we all just come with such a big spread of personalities and capabilities and point of view and everything that, like, you know, alcohol or anything, there's so many different things that if it's your thing that you just have that vice, it's a huge problem. But if you don't have it, then it's just kind of never like an issue. You just, okay, it's just normal. So I feel for people who definitely have that gambling vice, and it's of course obvious that there's going to be a market for that to fulfill it, which is why casinos exist and it's why the lottery exists. But at the same time, I also think, yeah, definitely there's got to be all kinds of corruption in the lottery. I think it's funny as well how they have the shops. They have like, we sold the winning ticket, whatever, here. And that's kind of like their advertising for like, it could be you, you know?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, well, what if it was mathematically random, it wouldn't matter which shop you bought it at, but they kind of want to give you, it's psychological, they want to give you that fake impression of like, this shop's a lucky one, or it's in your area. Somebody, it's like the FOMO, this guy down the road won 10 million and you didn't, you know?
Insane, isn't it? Is it in your where you guys are now? So you have obviously you have the gamblers and everything else, but do you have people who are just kind of like they play once a week just for the hope that one day they'll check their ticket and they'll be a winner, but they're not necessarily a gambler, but they're just kind of looking to get lucky every week? I feel like that's the thing in the UK.
I don't know. I haven't heard so much of that. I mean, I think there are, it's come back to like the nature of vices, you know? There's some people who are like, they're going to get drunk on Friday night. Like every Friday night, it's Friday. That's my day. Like I'm going to get drunk. And whether or not that's their habit or their choice, is there a point at which it becomes unhealthy? It's a hard line to draw, you know? And also humans are very driven by habit, right? So once you get into that kind of habit, it can be hard to get out of. And I don't know so much about if there's lotteries that let you, you know, like sign up with a credit card that just automatically pays out, like, you know, your gym membership or all these other subscriptions, where if it just pays out and out, you could be buying hundreds of tickets and then never think of it, right? Maybe not even notice if you won as well.
Yeah. I'm sure they wouldn't tell you. You've got to go and check manually.
Yeah, exactly. They make it easy to play and very hard to win. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about, you know, that was the intro section, but you were last on the show on episode number 38, and we're now at 166. I almost can't believe it. That was years and years ago. I've just pulled it up here. Ooh, February 2022. So approaching 4 years ago. The topics we talked about were smart BCH development, the adoption going on in St. Kitts, a little bit about El Salvador and BTC, but it's been a long road since then of following the BCH, you know, trials and tribulations. How are you feeling about BCH today, and what's your insights from that 4 years of time, basically?
Yeah, it's been a wild ride for the podcast as well, hasn't it? I can't believe that you've had that many episodes. That's really amazing. But yeah, no, it's like I got into BCH kind of at the start of COVID, and it was my general mindset. The way I look at the world is from a very anarchistic perspective of just you treat each other as you want to be treated, voluntary interactions, nobody forces themselves on anybody else, and that's about it. So I look at life through that lens, and I found in BCH kind of a home where I saw that community and kind of the tools that BCH give us that fits into that kind of nobody's ruling, nobody's leading. And so from then to now, I feel that it's exactly the same. If anything, it's got better. I think it's proven that it's shaken off any people who felt that they should ascend to some sort of kind of leadership role along the way. And as a result of that, the performance and tech upgrades and all of those things have just marched on relentlessly without stopping. And I think that's really testament to the decentralized nature of the coin. It's there's been no obstacles to kind of get in the way and kind of trip it up where other coins are struggling, because they've now got the thought leaders who control which direction it goes. So it's for that reason that I'm kind of all in on BCH, and why I feel that it's the Neo of crypto, pretty much. I think it's the decentralized side of it for me. Is it doesn't matter, and so we go in. There's all of these social channels, Telegram, Twitter, whatever. But what I kind of like about it is you get everybody has their opinions. People push back on those opinions. People argue. People kind of have these blowouts. It moves off into, if it gets too political, it moves off into kind of an off-topic channel, whatever it is. But people go and have their blowouts. But the project and the community continues to march on, which is really the essence of decentralization. It's having something that isn't derailed by differences, individual differences. It's something that has an ethos. It's got something that it's trying to achieve, and it doesn't bow to anybody. It's almost an entity in itself at this point. So it feels very much like people will come, people will go, but the path is still always the same. And so that's what I really love about BCH and its ability to be able to free the world. So when we get to where we're going, in my mind, there's no doubt that BCH will provide what is necessary to free the world.
Yeah, I was just looking. So we just checked in on the price there, right? So BCH is just under $500, and we're rank 14. When we spoke nearly 4 years ago, BCH, what rank do you think it was?
Ooh. We're 14 now. I think it was in the 20s.
Yeah, 28. 28, and it was about $297. So we've moved up a lot in the rankings and a little bit in the price. Like an extra $200 a coin, that's not too bad. That's probably keeping up with inflation, the non-manipulated version, right? That's keeping up with inflation in real terms, but it's not, knocking anyone's socks off, I would say. But that's pretty impressive, that was close to the bottom then. The bottom was at 31 and we're at 28 and we're now up to 14. So that's quite the resiliency, exactly.
Yeah, I think it's testament to it's people just not stopping. They continue to build, they continue to promote, they continue to do their thing in their area. And when people see the other people doing their thing and you do your thing, it's inspirational for everybody. The issue comes when you start to see that certain people, you can see that their intentions aren't aligned, and that's when you get issues, I think. But because everybody's doing their thing and you just putting your brick in the wall and somebody else is putting their brick in the wall, I think that's what pushes it forward. But without the explosion, I know that there's a lot of people who probably want explosion. They want to see BCH go to $10,000 kind of next week and that sort of thing. But for me, I like the slow and steady progression, because it's feels a lot less risky, a lot less dangerous, and it just keeps us going in the right direction. I think if there was a sudden pump, a la Zcash, kind of without any reason behind it, you'd start to think, oh God, what's coming our way, really?
Well, it will happen. BCH
Yeah.
will have its time in the sun on a long enough timeline. It's just at what point that network effect hits kind of critical mass. But like you're saying, you don't sort of want to get too much attention and too much money out of nowhere too quickly, because that's a prime opportunity for it to be squandered. Then the community channels are being flooded by people who don't know the culture, who don't understand the ideas, etc., etc., etc. So that's actually quite risky for the community if obviously people who have been in the community are the more long-standing ones. So if the same amount of people join overnight, those same people are still going to need to sort of slowly integrate. But if it's 5x the size of the existing community arrives overnight, well, then there's a risk that the existing people just get swamped and it just turns into something completely different, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I think there's a difference as well between pumping for the sake of pumping, just because people say, "Oh, well, it's our turn to pump now." So it's just people kind of pumping one coin, selling off, coming into another one, and there's a difference between that and saying, "Okay, BTC, it's your day, you've collapsed," and then everybody's panicking and saying, "Well, I'm getting my money out. Where am I going with this now?" There's two differences, so it will happen 100%. It's just, I think at the moment, it's nice to see slow and steady wins the race.
Do you think there's been any significant change in the community in that time over the last 4 years? I was just thinking the things we were talking about then, Smart BCH, like that all fell apart. But I was impressed by the recovery afterwards, like that was a big project that had a lot of money in it. And a lot of people did lose money in various ways, either on that or in the collapse or in the price declines that followed. There was a lot of ways, but it didn't actually really strike at the heart of the community. Everyone was kind of like, okay, we tried that. We made some mistakes here, there, and, let's patch it up and just move on. And then cash tokens just kept rolling out and sort of the momentum continued. And similarly with St. Kitts, Jet was saying the other day that he was checking the numbers, right? And it's something like that. The price was like in the hundreds when we were in St. Kitts. So people there have made at least 4x their money in fiat terms and maybe more. But apparently the adoption there is not maybe as strong as it was, because you still need those grassroots people there building things up. Like the price pumping is good, but it's not enough to sustain sort of a movement or adoption. You actually need proof of work on the ground.
Yeah, a solid core community. It's a good sign that there's a really good core community in BCH, that after Smart BCH, people didn't just there wasn't a mass exodus. I think it's a really good signal to other people. And I think that's why you see, now we see a lot of people coming back into the social channels and saying, "Oh, well, I left after Smart BCH and I've come back now," because they go and they experience other things, but then they start to hear about the things that are now going on with cash tokens and they start to migrate back in again. And so I know it's something that you talk about a lot, where there's no story like BCH where it should have died a death many times and just never does. It just keeps going.
Yes.
So it's I think that's so important for people when they realize that there's something else to it if it never goes away.
Destiny's Child, I'm a Survivor. BCH, the BCH anthem. But okay. No, that's cool. And what do you make of like sort of the upgrades, being in the community a long time? How do you think we're doing on the upgrades? And also I want to get your take on 1-minute blocks is sort of the most up for debate potential future upgrade. What's your view on that?
Yeah, so the upgrade, again, that's another thing that kind of gets me excited, kind of from a philosophical point of view, is the chip process and how that works. I love the fact that people ask, well, what is your what's your governance policies and things in BCH? How does it all work? How does consensus work? And they find it difficult to get their head around the fact that there's nobody kind of dictating and there's no voting in the traditional sense. It's all done socially. It's all somebody putting in hours to go out, talk to the people, the stakeholders, the community members, and kind of get their feedback, and then discuss with them, kind of answer any questions, and try and change their opinion if it's necessary, if they think it's necessary. And if it then gets support, great. And if it doesn't, then it's out. And I think that's how in real life things work as well. You ask people to work with you or to buy your product or whatever it is, and they choose if they want to or not. So so that's one thing that I really think is massive for BCH, is the chip process. All the upgrades have brought us to a place where, if we're going to be the new financial system, all of these kind of technical upgrades are what builders need to be creating all the tools possible to not to mirror, but to build out a new financial system that serves people and serves everybody. So whether it's people online, whether it's people who use cash or card in the street, all the tools are going to be there, and people can build what they want to build out then. So it's been amazing to see that growth and the decentralized backing of all the upgrades that have come so far. So it's really excited about that personally. And it's those sorts of things that have inspired me to then start to learn to code. I wouldn't have done that. In fact, I don't think I would have done that at all, because it wasn't in my kind of in what I was looking to do. But knowing that there's so many brilliant minds that are bringing all these things to the table, and it's going to kind of moving forward for me, it's going to make things easier for me to put together products that I want to put together for the markets that I want to reach. It's really exciting. So that's we're in such a good place now, I feel.
1 minute blocks.
1 minute blocks. Currently, I'm not a big fan from the perspective of I understand the reasons behind it, that it's to kind of to for the people who want faster transactions with exchanges and with online services. That's great. My doubts is whether the exchanges are going to kind of change the way that they do business. Maybe with some outreach, maybe they will. But if BCH is the true kind of the true Bitcoin, and we're going to free the world, I'm not sure that the exchanges who are in bed with government and with big business and that sort of thing will necessarily do things to benefit us. So I also think there's kind of a narrative element to it, where people will kind of say, well, zero conf, was it that good anyway? If now the BCH community are now bringing it down to 1 minute blocks. Having said all that, that's kind of just my initial thoughts at the moment, and I'm open to learning more about 1 minute blocks. I really am. So one of the things that I want to look at is what are the dangers of that, bringing that change in, and if I can have my kind of fears of that, of what are the dangers, kind of addressed, then I would feel okay supporting 1 minute blocks. So it's not kind of an inherent thing that I'm against, but I just want to understand kind of the trade-offs that there will be there. But again, as always, I'm pretty sure that everybody who is doing the research for 1 minute blocks will come with the research, and I'll be able to look into it fully. So I'm fully expecting that I'm going to change my mind on it, if I'm perfectly honest. But it's just at the moment, that's my kind of my current position. And that's the beauty of it, isn't it? The beauty of it is that people will oppose things to begin with, and be open-minded, and then the people who are running the chips and doing all the research can then say, well, actually, no, kind of your fears aren't warranted. Here's the reasons why, and then I'll be more than happy to support then. So I'm looking forward to kind of going through that process myself as well.
Yeah, it's just interesting because the way the chip cycle works on the show, a few months ago, we were talking all the time about the Velma upgrades. I was asking everyone about it, yada, yada, yada. And then we got to a point now that lock-in is next week, but we haven't really talked about it on the show for a month or two. There's not really been much need because everybody did get to that point. So I think it's nice to let it just sit there for a while. And then there's 1 minute blocks is the only chip that's done any sort of significant research potentially for next year, or maybe even the year after, or maybe never, right? But there's no other chips that are currently sitting on the sort of plate, as it were, that I'm aware of. So I think we're kind of in a point where maybe a lot of the work at the protocol level has kind of been done, and people are going to move their focus onto just launching apps or, building out promotion, whatever, in the rest of the ecosystem. Do you have any thoughts on things we're doing wrong? I mean, you've said a lot of, okay, BCH is doing great, it's going in the right direction and all that, but we're not nailing everything. If it was up to you, where does the community need to focus more or up our game?
It's not doing anything wrong. I think it's a focus thing that kind of crypto in general, or not crypto in general, because you've got the investment side, pump and dumps, and then you've got the people, kind of the projects that are trying to be at least useful as cash. But I just think it's for those kind of cash coins and things like that in general, it's very, very tech focused and online focused. And I think that there's just a massive opportunity of people who their lives are becoming made much more difficult, as we're seeing across the world right now. And I just think that those people are kind of it's almost like a level down in not in society, but there's a group of people who are a bit more removed from the online world. And it's those people who are kind of looking around right now with what's going on in the UK, Australia, Canada, the US as well now. To be honest, it's everywhere. It's South America, Africa. And they're saying, what can I do? Like, where do I go? My life is kind of very restricted now. What can I do? And they don't have the answers. And so I think one of the areas of focus that we could really kind of lean into massively is reaching those people. So it's the people who've never thought of kind of a cryptocurrency or a different type of money. And I say educating them, but it's very difficult to just educate. I think we've got to bring them products that are going to make their lives better, that then include BCH in them. And so I think that's got to be just more of a focus for us. Because eventually I do think that we're kind of running out of time now. Things have got a bit more serious recently. And so eventually we will hit a point where everything is fully controlled, and then we're going to find it very difficult to get out. Then people are going to become, once CBDCs come in fully, people are going to be more skeptical. So the non-online population, they're going to be very skeptical then of any digital currency. So yeah, that's got a bit. I think we've really got to focus a lot more on that as a whole. But again, any things like that, it's a massive opportunity for anybody who wants to go and build things, not necessarily on the tech side, on promotion and that sort of thing. It's just a big opportunity for people.
Yeah, I like that. Great point about CBDCs, and we're increasingly seeing that come into it's still like not quite here, but it's getting to the precipice. It constantly feels like it's very, very, very imminent. Maybe we had a little bit more of a breather after the pandemic than we sort of initially expected, but on the other hand, it's definitely still coming. But speaking of products and services that we need to bring to people, so you're working on this project KONK Marketplace, which was inspired by a similar thing on Monero called Monero Bazaar, as I understand it. And you had also made an earlier version, which I remember you talking about, called Agora Connect, but it's now been rebranded / reworked, and you're running a FundMe for the community to contribute so that you can build a circular marketplace for earning and spending BCH, I guess, a la eBay or any similar services. So tell me about this project and maybe just start from the beginning for people who don't know the whole history of how you've got it to where it is today.
Yeah, so I started out a kind of, again, coming from kind of an anarchist mindset. One of the things that if we're going to be cash for the world, one of the things that I felt was missing was the online marketplace for BCH, where people could go and spend and earn BCH very easily, because that's where when new people are onboarded, very often the first question that people get is, well, what can I do with it? What can I do with my what can I do with my BCH? This $5 you've just given me. And as much as you kind of try and explain about NFTs and kind of going and trading for other things and trying to make yourself more money from it, regular people in the street are probably not going to listen to that for very long. They want to be able to spend their money. So obviously we have the kind of merchants that will accept it. But again, I felt that the people would go back to these merchants after a certain period of time and find that the merchants weren't keeping the BCH and were no longer accepting it. So it started out as kind of just an additional tool for people to be able to spend their BCH. And then it was kind of inspired. Yeah, it was inspired by eBay, Amazon, because they've become such a big part of our lives now. Everybody uses Amazon, and the reason for everybody using it is the experience that they get from it. So you can order something and get it tomorrow. So it really is kind of it solved a problem for people who wanted the convenience of having things just delivered to your door as fast as possible, really. So I started out with the first iteration was I built it on WordPress, called it Agora Connect, trying to kind of lean on the agorist idea. But I understood pretty quick that agorism, anarchism, isn't maybe the friendliest terms for the regular population to kind of adopt. So it just wasn't catchy enough. So I started to run into a few other little roadblocks, which were kind of using WordPress. It was very clunky, using tons of plugins and this, that, and the other. And so I just started to play a little bit with the code on them, and just seeing how bits and pieces of it worked, the HTML and CSS and all that sort of stuff. And then I just realized, okay, if I'm going to do this, I need to just do it myself, because I'd employed somebody to come up with the payment gateway, great, but I'd spent a lot of money on that, on the initial website. And it was having a developer work for you. It takes time. You ask for updates and that sort of thing. And me being as impatient as I am, I thought, I can't wait any longer. I just need to dig in and just learn how to do this. So I started then to learn to code, and I thought, okay, I've got to get rid of Agora Connect, because people are just going to kind of, it's not. I mean, I even felt that at the time that the name itself not put people off, but they weren't. It was just not attractive for them to kind of say, and everything else. It's got to be similar to Celine, I guess. That it's got to be a one word, something catchy that people can remember. So then I came up with KONK, and that comes from Samuel Edward Konkin III, from kind of the father of agorism. So it's just a little ode to him, but without ever having to explain that. But then it was just, now it's my kind of the full focus of it now is to how do I get people interested who have never been interested in cryptocurrency. They've never considered it. What is the way that I'm going to be able to do that? And so I came up with kind of a few little kind of bullet points that I'd need for that. One is just, it's got to be simple. Everything's got to be familiar, and they've got to feel like they're using something such as Amazon or eBay without it being too complex. Otherwise, they're just not going to adopt it, and it needs to be friendly. So no talk of kind of anarchism or anything like that. Using good wording to describe things, anarchist themes such as voluntarism. People are more open to the wording of voluntarism and voluntary interactions because it's a nice thing to do, to have a voluntary interaction with your neighbor, your friend, where nobody's kind of putting on to anybody else. Everybody has a choice. So it's just keeping a friendly theme and making it as easy as possible for people to use, really. So
is there a MVP that you've made already yet, or is it still kind of in the works? What stage of building are you at? Yeah,
still. So no. So still building out, but I decided, and it was kind of inspired by yourself, a comment you yourself made about one. I won't kind of say the project, but about one of the other projects, kind of just saying, just ship it, just do it, and just show people what you're doing. And it struck me, and I thought, I mean, that's right. But by hoarding your product, you're not getting feedback. You're building something that potentially at the end of the line, you're going to put out your finished product, and either people aren't going to like it, people are going to have their opinions about it, and you're going to have to go back and rethink certain elements of it. So it made sense for me to say, okay, I'm going on this journey where I'm building this marketplace, and I'm going to do it publicly. And then at each step of the way, put out what kind of the update that's coming, and ask people in the community, ask their opinions, get advice where I can from the devs who've been there and done it, so that I can have a product that works the best it can with the best minds helping along the way. And I don't feel there's a better place to do it than in BCH and with kind of the devs that are in the community. But also it adds an element of the people who aren't developers, if they can be involved in the building process or the decision-making process through the build, it garners that advocacy from more people in the community as well. So to be part of something that's being built with your input is obviously much more powerful than building something, putting it out and people not having a connection to it. I want people to feel connected and like they were a part of the build and the growth of it.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest mistakes you can make in entrepreneurialism or just in life is we all have this tendency to think, I want to make something really good and then show it off, because you can just think you think of a grand release and then, wow, the whole world will be coming to look at my thing. But the fact is, even if you've made the world's best thing, which you probably haven't, almost certainly haven't, then when you put it out there, nobody's going to hear. Like your mum and one or two of your mates are going to have a quick look at it and be like, yeah, that's nice. They'll try it out for 5 minutes and maybe give you one or two basic pointers, which will hit you like, what are you even talking about? You just don't get my product at all. Like, why are you giving me this feedback? And then you're kind of left with like, oh, right, I put in all that work and I got nowhere. Like, really, you just want to ship things as fast as possible. And it's because people find it, frustrating and embarrassing as well to show someone something. Yep. And then it breaks or it doesn't work, and you kind of have to give that look of like, oh yeah, shit, sorry, we're still working on it. We'll fix that bug. I have it all the time with Celine, but of course Celine gets better and better over time. So I have those moments less and less. Although usually no matter how good it gets, I'm always trying to demo them the latest, coolest thing that we've made. So I'm still always running into those problems, but it's just dog fooding your own stuff. And every time you have one of those embarrassing moments, you just make a note, fix it up later, and then it doesn't happen next time. And that's how, anything great gets built. I mean, on that topic of Selene, I would love to have something like this, especially that we can integrate it into Selene. So it's in there in the Explore tab or whatever, that people can just click there, Marketplace, boom, because you're exactly right. I hear that all the time. You send people some BCH, they're like, wow, that was cool. It was faster than I thought. I didn't have to register. I didn't have to set anything up. They can kind of understand the concept that this could happen everywhere in the world. That they get to. And then you're right. They say, where do I spend it? What can I do with it? They say, what can I do with it? But what they mean is, where can I spend it? Because then if you say, what can you do with it? You say, well, DeFi and culture. They're like, what are you talking about? So I think this is an excellent idea for a solution. What is the plan for a kind of initial prototype and stuff like that? Do you have a timeline? Or, I mean, I guess you have this fund me is the idea to get funded and then produce a prototype. How's that going to work?
Yeah, it's at the moment I'm treating it as kind of almost as a hobby build just at the moment. It's not kind of too far away. I'm probably looking in the next 6 months I'll be able to put an MVP out. But I'm quite chilled about it at the moment with regards to I want to enjoy the process a little bit of putting together a product. So a good product. I don't want it to kind of be rushed and as in I put out kind of just a very bare bones. Yep, there it is, and it's there you go. It's done. I want it to be kind of a journey for me to build this app in the right way, and have people come along and help me to guide it. Really is the plan. But I want the kind of the MVP to be done within the next 6 months, and so that's the focus of the fund me as well, to be able to help me to really go all in on working on it and making sure that that's done within those 6 months. But I want to, I want to enjoy the build and enjoy learning as I'm going as well, and working with a lot of the people. That's another thing that I don't think people do enough of, maybe, apart from a few pockets in BCH, is actually reaching out and saying, okay, kind of what can we do together? How can we help each other? And there's just that much talent in BCH that should be something, that should be conversations that people are having a lot more, I think. So that would be my message to people, actually, is just send out that message. And if you think that you've got something that will help somebody else with something they're doing, reach out. And what's the worst that could happen? Somebody can say, sorry, I'm too busy at the moment. And okay, that's fair enough. But it's how we can all kind of move forward together, is to everybody to help each other, really.
Do you have a plan for the classic problem of marketplaces is that they're two-sided, right? You need somebody selling and you need somebody to buy. So you need a coincidence of wants. And when you have a small catalog and a small user pool of both buyers and sellers, then it's the chances of that match are increasingly unlikely, which of course is why eBay and Amazon and stuff can be so successful, because once you have a big pool, the chances of a match are enormously likely. So getting through that initial stage is quite a challenge. Have you thought about like what's going to be your initial target market or strategy to get that early traction that will snowball?
Yeah. So the kind of the way I'm looking at it at the moment is having a kind of an Amazon user experience as much as possible, them being just the market leaders, with an eBay, obviously the eBay buyer and seller experience is kind of very easy. And I think although eBay's kind of falling off a little bit now, what was good about eBay was that you were the buyer and the seller. So you would list whatever you had in your house, and then you would go and you would then go and buy from other people along the way. So those are that's the way I'm looking at the experience for the user. But one of the things I think that a lot of these marketplaces that you've mentioned fall down on is I don't believe that the they don't market. They don't go through the process of marketing to or identifying their target markets and then marketing to them as much as they should. They build, because a lot of these people are builders rather than entrepreneurs. They'll build a product and then that's it. Then I've built the product. People should be using the product, using the marketplace. And I don't think that's the case. I think it needs to have a lot more outreach and a lot more marketing to kind of target market segments. So for KONK, I'm gonna kind of go for, there's 4 markets that I'm gonna be putting a lot of effort into targeting. So it won't just be my work won't just be on the development of the app, but also kind of really promoting to these groups. So the first one is the kind of the crypto crowd already. They will kind of, I imagine they'll adopt it a lot easier. They'll know a lot more about online things, online functions, the way that things work, and trust it a little bit easier. So that will be kind of, I would imagine that will be followed a lot easier by those people. I'm going to focus a lot on local, kind of local sellers, producers and sellers. At the moment, people like farmers, local producers of craft goods and different things, they're finding it increasingly difficult to do business because of restrictions and regulations that are coming in from the government. So to offer them a way to do business where they're not going to have the government kind of leaning on them constantly is going to be a big part. This a lot of social media, a lot of the kind of video social media, there's a hell of a lot of farmers now crying out and saying my business is going down the pan. I can't do anything. I mean, dairy farmers, for example, they pour away their milk when because they're tied into contracts with big supermarkets and the government subsidies. So they end up pouring away gallons and gallons and gallons of milk that they could sell and make money. So I'll be doing kind of a lot of outreach and a lot of education. So this is obviously in the UK, but I'll be doing that kind of in the UK and having people come to meetups who will kind of will produce and sell their goods in marketplaces and things, but using KONK. And then what I plan to do then is to produce kind of a template that people, I'll then give out to the community, and then people can go and replicate that out in their local communities as well. Because one of the end goals for KONK is, and what I want to achieve is that if we ever get to a stage again where we have a lockdown as we did during COVID, what I believe that the governments want to do now is when because I believe that another lockdown will come at some point. I believe that what they want to achieve is they want to have all of the food infrastructure locked down, so they control all of it. Nobody can kind of get away from it. And so what I want to do is I want to have kind of local trade ongoing using BCH through KONK, so that the government will say, okay, we've got everything locked down and we're in control, where in fact the people will have an alternative and they'll be able to come and use KONK to trade with each other. And so that it will also include, further down the line, it'll include an element of kind of decentralized delivery, similar to Uber and that sort of thing as well, because I think again that'll be important. But that's kind of a future plan. So those are 2, and then I'll also be doing outreach to. There's a lot of online small businesses who sell on Instagram, TikTok, that sort of thing, and you see them kind of launch their product. It goes out. They're online for a couple of months, and then it then disappears. And that's because a lot of the market is really restrictive for new businesses now being launched. It's whether it's all to do with fiat regulation and tax and all of these things, but it's just very difficult for small businesses to launch and make a living. So I'll be reaching out to those small businesses and again inviting them to kind of online conversations and where they can learn about KONK, and I'll explain that there's a market for them, an additional market for them that they can use to make money and have a better chance at becoming successful with their business. And then the last one is there's a lot of discontent in online marketplaces at the moment. If you go on Reddit, the number of subreddits where it might be called eBay sucks, Amazon sucks, Etsy sucks. And the reason is because all of these marketplaces are being regulated to death, where people can no longer go and use them to make money outside of the government fiat system. And so people are getting very frustrated that they can't, for example, eBay now reports when people are making money to the tax authority in the UK. So you can't, in the past, you were able to make your money. Back then, it would have been PayPal. So you would have used PayPal. People wouldn't have swapped out of PayPal. They would have kept it in PayPal. And then they would have gone and bought more things on eBay or whatever. And people just can't do it anymore. So I'll be doing kind of marketing initiatives around getting to those people as well, and showing them that there is something else out there that they can use to make their money and make their living. And so the idea would be that then all of these little pockets, you'll have a local pocket, you'll have online, you'll have new small businesses, and each of those will be feeding into kind of, as you say, the buyer-seller dynamic, and hopefully I can go some way to solving that problem then of having enough sellers and enough buyers to marry up, and hopefully then reach a critical mass at some point, where we can say it's getting to a level of Amazon, eBay successful marketplace relationships. Obviously not to their level currently of market size, but those relationships between buyers and sellers. So that's the plan currently. But again, always open to ideas, and if people want to go and join the KONK Telegram group and follow up on Twitter, then please do, and then you can feed in your opinions, your feedback, and any ideas that you have as well.
Yeah, I mean, listening to that list, I was thinking, well, the first thing I would do as strategy is pick one that is going to be the number one priority. All of them sound kind of viable. Initially, I liked the idea of the crypto group because I know you're already involved in that, and also because I have an affinity for it. That's my initial group, so I feel like that already has some reach and some traction. So I'd like that. But then when you were talking about the farmers, I thought that could also work, but it would probably need you to have, and I don't know if you do or not, but to have relatives or somebody who is deep in that industry to find that spark. But actually my favorite one was the last one that you said with the like Etsy sellers, because you said they would both be the buyer and the seller. So that solves a lot of your problem right there. If you've already found a community of people that are used to the concept of having a small group and trading amongst themselves, I'm offering a service and getting paid. It's not barter, but it's kind of closer to that than, abstracted across a massive economy, right? They're used to the idea of, okay, I've got some money that I use to sell to this group of people. And then those same group of people are probably interested in the kind of similar products that I want and need, but maybe just slightly differently, like a farmer's market type of vibe. I can see that being, if I was going to pick anything, that's what I'd pick. Jet, I don't know, do you have a thought?
Yeah, I've got a question that, like, this sounds great, but I used OpenBazaar and I watched it die. So my big question is, how is a different platform not going to be subject to the same regulations that is causing the problems for these small businesses?
Yeah, it will eventually get to that, won't it? So the kind of more, it's kind of medium long term. I don't know. It depends on timescales and things like that, and how successful it is off the bat. But so I'll be looking at how to decentralize fully, so that it becomes. We'll still have the platform, but in the future, what I want to achieve is that people can take their products almost a la Shopify. I don't know if you know kind of Shopify. You can kind of move your products around and sell in different areas and things like that. So that would be the kind of the ideal kind of way for people to interact with KONK in a decentralized way, for where people can actually transfer their listings, their products around. So whether that means that each of their products becomes an NFT also, so that maybe the metadata for their listing is in the NFT, and then that gets transferred. And so it's something it's something that I want to look into, where it can be almost a plug and play that people can use in other places as well. So if people set up their own e-commerce website, it would still use kind of the base product listings from KONK elsewhere. So it is something that's on my mind, kind of on the forefront of my mind. It's something that needs to, sooner rather than later, it will need to come in. But I need to have a think about a really solid way to achieve that. I don't know if what were your thoughts on that, Jet?
I don't know. I liked what OpenBazaar had, where it was like IPFS, but it was so slow, and people had to be online for it. And then, there just wasn't enough shit for me to buy. So unless I knew a vendor was on OpenBazaar, after the first month, I wasn't scrolling through the marketplace anymore. And then, even some of the products, a lot of the time you just get cheap shoes or some shit that you really don't need. And it's that. I think the farmers thing is a great idea, but then how the fuck are you going to deal with shipping? Okay. Let's say we have some kind of decentralized front end where you have this buyer seller trust protocol. The benefit of Amazon is that they're not really a marketplace. They're a logistics company that does it really well. I don't know how a decentralized thing can actually compete with that. I'm so excited to see something at some point eventually. I just don't know if this will be one of those things that happens in my lifetime or not.
Yeah. Well, talking about the OpenBazaar and that sort of thing, I think if it was kind of a bit of a hybrid thing where you do have IPFS and you also have platforms to keep this, as you say, to keep the speed up. And I don't know if there's a tech solution to that as well, where it would make it so that it was less kind of less trust involved in the platforms. I don't know. It's something I'll have to discuss with people and find out what other people think. But I think something hybrid would be good. But yeah, the local idea that I wanted to kind of achieve is my vision for it is, and it's just using farmers as the example, but the cost of food in the UK right now is spiraling out. It's out of control right now. So even the very cheap supermarkets are ridiculous. So the idea being that farmers would you would buy off your say your local farmer, that you place your order, and then it's up to the farmer then, because you're in a local area, the farmer would arrange their delivery to you. So for example, so it could be delivery or it could be collection. So that feature's already on KONK at the moment, is you can choose if delivery or collection. And then I thought about, okay, so Amazon does same day delivery or next day delivery. So I've put that feature in as well, where if today I want milk this afternoon for my cup of coffee, the farmer can when he puts the listing up, he can put, okay, if you order at whatever time you order, it will be delivered 2 hours later or whatever. So I want to make the local economy as convenient as possible, a la Amazon, but locally. So the farmers then decide what they do as far as delivery or collection. So it might be that they have kind of a farm worker who says, right, what we're going to do is organize ourselves that once a day we go out at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and we go and deliver to all the people who've ordered this morning milk from us. But also now, because we've got a few customers, we're now also selling cheese, and we're also selling, we also have steak, and we also have, so the idea being that local economy can almost sustain itself as far as delivery and as far as convenience goes. So
Well,
yep.
That might be an area to also like decentralize things for, like, if you do have this increased focus on like local commerce, then I mean, you could just do something like a Uber Eats where you're like, oh, if you want to be a driver for my vendors, and we can also pay you in cryptocurrency, and then oh, you want to use that cryptocurrency, look at the platform that you're working for, like, and look at all of the local vendors. Okay, all right, I like that.
That's it. So the delivery driver then says, okay, I'm going to come and work for you. Where can I use or how do I use my BCH? And you say, well, check it out. Go and buy what you need. You need food, it's here. You need whatever, it's here. So that's, and it's all around kind of the thinking behind it is all around, again, what happens when we get another lockdown. Number one, what happens when we get another lockdown and the government says you can't go out and earn money. You need to now listen to us, and we dictate everything to you. So this will give it somewhere for people to go and sell their goods. People say, oh, well, I don't have any money, I need money. And you say, well, if you're kind of, if you want to go and become a delivery driver. So again, if you had a decentralized Uber delivery service also, then people can go out and work on that, again, earning themselves money. So you've now got, you can sell things on a marketplace and earn money. You can go out and work and earn money, again, without the government interfering and saying that you can't. So that's the kind of the thinking behind it. And then that leans into then what you guys were saying about the, what did you say? Web of trust, was it?
Yeah, well, I'm putting, the pieces here. This is definitely a Blaze project in the making, and I've got we talk more after the show. I've got a bunch of ideas already, but I can sort of see how it would all tie together. If you do a local market, if you start with like one local farmer or maybe two local farmers who are neighbors and already mates or something like that, well, then your logistics problem is massively reduced, right? Because you're only operating within a local area, which is how you probably want to do it anyway. So that's solved by just restricting the scope. Now, in terms of preempting any kind of over-regulation or whatever, you just need to think about the Nostr and like the blockchain, building more of the back end onto that, so that the same way people can offer DeFi and just kind of be like, well, we just made the DeFi swap service. We don't actually hold anybody's coins. We don't actually do anything. It would be sort of the same vibe where potentially the front end later, you could also have a self-hosted way of doing that. And that's what OpenBazaar did. But like you said, it was slow. And also at the time, Bitcoin didn't have advanced enough script or a big enough marketplace to actually make the back end part fly. But you could do that now with cash tokens being people's receipts for things that they needed to have delivered or whatever. And maybe that also ties into the reputation. The more of these cash tokens that somebody accumulates, which they only got by buying or successfully delivering or selling products, then the more reputation they would have for everybody else to see this person is serious. And maybe there was a way that you could, like if somebody gave you a token, then you could send it to some kind of contract that was like burn their reputation, but you only got one of their tokens from them. So you already had a deal. Somebody can't just come along and go online and write 1,000 comments. I hate this service to be hating on you. They have to have provably done some deal with you in the past, and their amount of hate is, comparable to the amount of business that they have done. So then both sides build up over time. Like increasingly amount of reputation, which sort of matches how it works in real life, right? You don't want to screw over your like long-term suppliers. So I think there's definitely the pieces are all there. Of course, the challenge is putting it all together, but I can see how it could work. Yeah.
Yeah, it's well, I didn't know about the project with the Web of Trust, but this one of the issues that I saw it on recently with XMR Bazaar as well was having the escrow system. I don't know if you saw, but they had an issue where the moderators kind of had a dislike of the people in the transaction, so it influenced their decision, and it just turned into a bit of a shit show, really, because it kind of, when that happens, there's nothing you can do. It's a trusted party that you're saying we're putting this person in a position of power to decide on a transaction, and it kind of went a bit pear-shaped, I think. So I think because the way we transact in real life face to face is based on reputation and everything else, I think that's the system that ultimately will work, but it needs to be built the right way, and it needs to kind of function well for people to keep their reputation or not, as the case may be. So another element to it that I was thinking, similar along the same lines that you were saying about the cash token, so it builds up a reputation or doesn't, would be kind of a system of where other people can vouch for that person as well, in addition to that. So it'd be a case of other people saying, yes, I guess it's reviews, I guess.
Like investing. It's investing social credibility. I could invest my reputation in you as a seller that I know and trust to prove to Jet that he should make a deal with you. And then when the delivery comes off, I get like a commission for giving you that trust to get the deal over the line. And if you screw up, then I'm on the hook. Like, I've got skin in the game because, you know, maybe I put up a deposit that I'm expecting to get back, but not if you screw up, well, I'm going to be mad.
Yeah, exactly.
Or something like that. You know, you could see like a 2 or 3 step process like that, which could work, right? Helping people to extend trust.
Yeah, absolutely. And then so it just goes to the delivery driver, to the people who work or who sell products. If that system, that's why I'd be interested to see what the system in Blaze is, what the idea behind that is fully, because maybe it's something that can be built and used then across the whole ecosystem. So not just in this area, but in other areas as well. So it actually becomes kind of almost a protocol type thing that people all trust and build into their products.
Yes, the concept is people can go on Dora Hacks and Blaze, look up the stuff for that. But the concept is actually for bot resistance. People that are interested in not being spammed online with bots syncing. So it's the same. It's a similar idea. It's just I'm sure there's a way to marry those two concepts over time. It's just adding a technical layer over the way things already work, which then reduces friction for people who aren't already embedded in the network, right? Because it already works that way. Like if somebody new is in BCH who knows somebody who knows me, I can ask that person and get a bit of a referral. That already works. But if you have a token system, then it's possible to, scale that up without having to have so much behind the scenes sort of messaging and one-to-one dealing. You can just check the rating or just look at it anytime on your own. Yeah, so I think there's definitely something here. Anyway, I do want to hit some other topics, but do you want to give any kind of final pitch on KONK and on the FundMe for people to look at that, and if they want to get deep in the weeds of all your ideas around this?
Yeah, I think we've kind of gone through it pretty well. But yeah, if it's something that's really kind of really important to me and to the idea of people just being able to do business together and give people another option in their life to just be able to live a bit freely. And with all these things that are going on around the world, and people are ever more kind of panicking and thinking, what actually am I going to do now? This would give people the tool to be able to do that, and as a result, introduce them to Bitcoin Cash along the way. So I've detailed it a lot more in the Fund Me campaign. So please, if you can help at all, just jump over to the link that you can see there and go and check it all out. And any questions, come and hit me up on Twitter or Telegram, and we can discuss it a bit more.
Love it. Okay, fundme.cash, and it's campaign number 76. But if you go to fundme.cash, you'll see it right there on the homepage. Okay, that's one project. You've also got this other project, a BCH Global Lotto, that you've been involved in for quite a while. I have played and won in that on several occasions. Tell me about this initiative, because it's the kind of thing that actually gets suggested a lot, similar to marketplaces. A lot of people get into crypto and then they immediately think, what could this be used for? And then they immediately think, oh, the lotto could be so good because everybody can just send it in and then it could be provably fair and just automatically pay someone out. And there's such a huge market for this, like it would catch on like wildfire. And there's, to be fair, there are, implementations of that have reasonable success. But what was the background to this one?
Yeah, so my my brain is constantly thinking about products for freedom and for BCH. So I'm always in my day-to-day, I'm always thinking to myself, what do people need? What's going to bring people into BCH that haven't been in BCH before? Because kind of my feeling is in the crypto world, you just get kind of, for the large part, you just get kind of a circulation of liquidity and of kind of money just going around. How do we get people who've never been into any crypto or anything? How do you get them in? Not because, well, I guess the answer is not just to get them in, but because there are benefits for them. And so for anything that you do, you need to what's the problem that you're solving, or how can you make people's life better? And so one of the things is that people enjoy doing is playing games online, or especially with things like lottery. They'll go to their local shop and buy tickets and things like that. So it's something that everybody's familiar with, which is key to introducing them to new concepts. So the Global Lotto idea was born out of that everybody knows what a lotto is. Even things like a raffle, you put your money in, somebody wins. It's a very simple concept. So it was born out of that. I then kind of put together the idea, and this was kind of when I was kind of just started to get into coding myself, and at that time I met another developer called Encrypted Sandwich. He we had a chat about it, and he had already been in kind of Bitcoin BTC doing a bit of developing prior. And so we got together, we had a chat, and I said, okay, this is what I need. Can you put it together? He said, yep, no problem. I've done lotteries in the past, provably fair lotteries in the past. And this is what we came up with so far. So this is kind of the MVP, because we've got a lot of other things that we want to build onto it. But this is the working kind of model. And it's been running now for, I think this week's the 40th week that it's been running. And it's been running perfectly. So each week it automatically, every Sunday, today it will be 7 p.m. UTC will be the next draw. And it automatically draws then using a random algorithm that was developed by Encrypted Sandwich. And yeah, it's been running and been pretty good. And as you say, you've won quite a few now.
Well, just because I play it a lot. That's right. It's just maths. I just put in 1 or 2 tickets every week, and I've done it probably not all 40 of those weeks, but maybe 30 or 35 of those weeks. So
I appreciate that support.
I get a win. But how popular has it been? I've seen some weeks it gets a little bit more traction. It can get up to, $100 of prize pool, and some weeks it's like 10 or 15.
Yeah. So it started out super popular, and then as I started then developing KONK, I started to kind of I scaled back the promotion a little bit. So each week I'd do a little bit of promotion, and then I announced the winner each week, kind of with a bit of a meme video. So at the moment I've just been letting it run, and like you say, the jackpot each week goes up and down, and then kind of very soon, once I've got where I want to get for now with KONK, then I'll put a bit more kind of focus on the promotion of the Global Lotto as well, because I think it's got a lot of potential. I think it can once whether it's people in other coins, in other ecosystems, once they realize that they can play and it's provably fair and everything else, then they'll move across. And then there's a lot of people around the world who enjoy a bit of a gamble or playing on the lotto each week, and so I think they'll also come across as well. So yeah, it's going to need a lot more promotion, and then we're going to develop it further, so that we'll have NFT tickets, so you'll be able to send tickets to each other, and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's been reasonable considering. As I say, considering the promotion's been limited so far, I think it's fairly popular. There's regulars who play each week, and then I'm starting to now see people. I think it's when people win for the first time they realise, okay, so I'm going to now play it each week now. Up to that point, they're thinking to themselves, it could be any sort of kind of crypto scam. But it's all decentralized. You pop all your you pop your receiving wallet address in, you buy your tickets, and then that's it. It's kind of in there for the week, and then the algorithm chooses the winner at the end of the week and spews it out, and then you can then go back and check all the past rounds. So for the latest one, it's just the latest week, and you can see who won it. You can see the seed and the hash, and how much they won, and the winning wallet address as well.
Yeah, I think so. Really, I mean, just the more we talk about this, the more it sounds like the marketplace, the Global Lotto, and just everything in BCH, whether it's Selene, whether it's Blaze, whether it's anything, it kind of all is just coming back to the ideas are actually very strong. All of them just need network effect. And of course, the network effect comes from everybody building up all these different things, and then they all mesh together. And it does feel like maybe we are starting to get to that point. I actually have a slide here because I wanted to talk about this topic of the rising block size, which is very recently somebody was pointing out. We used to do the transaction count on the show every week, but we don't do that anymore because there wasn't really, too much interesting to talk about. But in the last, couple of months, we've started to see a little bit of an uptake from about, Jet, we've got the slide there for rising block sizes, which is, it went from about like 50 kilobytes per block to about 200 kilobytes a block. And I know that memo.cash is a part of it. Definitely people are writing more on there, and that creates a lot of transactions. But we're also getting to the point that we do have a bit of an ecosystem. The BCH number of investors is slowly rising as it's getting more prominence. Now we have more DeFi. If you go on Cauldron, you can see Moria tokens being put on there, things being bought and sold, Moria being minted, etc. So I sort of wonder if we are starting, like the Global Lotto, a few regulars play that every week, right? A few people check their Selene wallet and send a donation to somebody, blah, blah, blah. You can just see how it's slowly starting to come together. I was wondering if you had any thoughts on that, because I feel like maybe 2026 might be the year that we really start, because once a thing's growing, it will continue growing, right?
Definitely. That's the text there now. So all the tools are there, and the text there, and kind of we're ready for any level of kind of transactions to come in and that sort of thing. But it's just a case of looking and saying and answering questions for potential users, because we talk about users that are out there in the world, or potential users that are out there in the world, and why aren't they coming over and using BCH? But you've got to look at what what problems are out there to solve, or what questions do people have, and how do we answer those questions? And so it comes down to wallets. And for example, with Selene, is you've made it as the easiest wallet to use possible, and that's solving a problem. It's there are people out there. If we're going to get new people adopting, we can't go to them and say, well, right, you need to, first of all, you need to enter these details, and then you need to, when they compare that to their wallet at the moment, as in their kind of their bank account, their credit card, debit card, it's too complex. So the problem that you're solving with Selene is that it's making it as simple as possible and as understandable as possible for everybody. And so I think, yeah, as you start to chip away and you start to put those building blocks, if you're trying to build a kind of a massive, beautiful building, you don't go and kind of, you can't just do it in one day. You go and you build all those little blocks, and you think of all the different shapes that you've got of block that you've got to put in there. And before you know it, you've built something that's really incredible. And I think that's the path that we're going down. We're solving problems and we're building new tools all the time. And I think that's how we get there.
Yeah, speaking of this rising network effect, we also have a new announcement that came up this week of this project Seed Cash, which people can check out at seedcash.cash. This one caught me actually quite off guard, which is that somebody just popped up in our Telegram group and announced a hardware device. It's technically not a hardware wallet, so I'm just got to be very careful not to say that, but it's like a hardware wallet in that it's a hardware device which is helpful for securing large amount of BCH offline. For the audio listeners, it kind of looks like a little, I don't know how big it is, but maybe it's about the size of sort of a mobile phone, it looks like, and it has a screen and it has one button on one side and three on the other side. It kind of looks like a Game Boy or something. And the concept is that would then be a secure open source device that you can then just plug into, maybe into your computer or maybe into your phone to access funds, or maybe you can type the seed phrase in and you can generate transactions and use it without having to obviously expose it to the internet and all the potential things that could go wrong, or without having to mess around with a piece of paper that people are maybe not as familiar with. It's, more difficult to do as well too. So what was caught me off guard about this was two things. I mean, I am always open to the idea. Of course, you never know where new things are going to come from, but this is unique on two fronts. One is just quite how advanced it is. If you go and have a look on this Seed Cash site, I haven't held one in my hand, so I don't know, but it really is like a big project that they have articles there explaining about the specifics of BCH and the research that they had to do to figure out how to make this work. They have like screenshots, as far as I'm aware, they have like prototypes and everything. Usually ideas come up, people talk about them, and then years later this comes up, but this is coming out already looking pretty good. And the second thing is that it's a hardware wallet style project, and you only get those once the community gets to a certain size, because what's the point of making a hardware wallet that lets you secure lots of money if not many people are there and not many people have a lot of money in it? But now it seems like we've got those things, and it's surprising because I would have expected that the hardware wallet providers in BTC or in other parts of crypto would start to notice BCH, and then maybe they already have a lot of existing resources, so they could come in and maybe do a BCH branded one, or say we've added support for this, or do something like that. That's how I was expecting BCH was going to get traction with its own hardware wallets. But this is even better, which is if the community is home growing its own stuff, the same way that it home grows its own wallets, its own node software, maybe its own marketplaces, its own apps, like the Global Lotto, that is a lot better, because then you have things that people come to BCH and they are shocked to find, like, wow, look at all this stuff that is going on. Like, how did they produce all of this? And those teams also naturally link up and help each other out. So it really adds to that compounding network effect. I don't know if you had a chance to look at this, or even if, do you use a hardware wallet or what? But yeah, what I don't know if you have any particular thoughts on this, but I
Yeah,
really
I saw,
highlight
I
this
saw
on the show.
that that when that first came into the Telegram group as well, and it was all anything like this is always really kind of really welcome. And again, it's this just answers a question and gives people another tool. And it as long as the tools keep coming and they're all of good quality and everything else, that's exactly what we need and what we want. Because, like you say, eventually when people check BCH out and say, Jesus Christ, they've got a whole thing going on here. Had no idea about this, and then that word of mouth gets around, and then people come in, and then the kind of the structure of the decentralized nature and structure of the community then is what kind of keeps the community together, and not influenced from any external factors. And it's brilliant, and that's why it's important to have so many different people producing different products, and it's all appreciated and between each other. And it's really great to see things like this coming out. I don't use a hardware wallet myself. Again, I'm not very trusting of things like hardware wallets, but this seems like it solves a problem. But I'll look into it a bit more, I think, and see where it's going.
Yeah, well, that's right. It's a hard thing because people get, okay, this hardware's been backdoored or this or that, and there's been historical instances of that, and then, people ordering things to their house and blah, blah, blah. Like, there's all kinds of factors to that. So this does seem like very interesting, and from what I was reading, they have definitely taken note of that, and they have, are going to publish the schematics or maybe I think, or the code that runs on it and everything. It might be. I'm optimistic for it for the reason that something that comes in that is this well done and that matches the BCH ecosystem so well seems like it wasn't the kind of thing that somebody just threw together and thought, yeah, let's vibe code this website on AI and then try and launch it and get some interest. It really does seem very well thought out, and partly it's surprising because it's the kind of thing I would expect to hear from somebody I was familiar with in the community, who I'd seen around, who I'd seen, like, for instance, like KONK, when you say, oh, I'm going to do this KONK, and you put out all this stuff, and I say, okay, this actually looks pretty good. Well, I know you've been in the scene for a while, so I'm, of anybody in the world to be coming up with that kind of idea and with those principles and so forth, I would not be surprised if it was you. But when it's somebody new who hasn't maybe made a lot of noise before, you start with a little bit of skepticism, but you always want to be optimistic as well too, give them the benefit of the doubt. And yeah, I've been really impressed with this. I can't, I don't know, I'm shilling it now on the show basically, but I think people should go and look it up, seedcash.cash, and look into it, because I was very impressed by their initial release. But of course, more remains to be seen. All right.
Do we know if it's do we know who's behind it or at the moment, or?
Well, again, that's it. We just had the one guy who was talking in the Telegram chat. Let me find out what his handle was. I believe, he must be from somewhere Spanish, because we were talking in Spanish, but I sort of got the feeling it might be like an Argentina affiliated type of thing. But I don't know that it was directly linked to Argentina, just perhaps inspired by Martí Arturo Requena. So yeah, I don't know. Seems vaguely Argentinian to me, but just didn't seem to be like, oh, I'm part of the BCH Argentina team and all those guys can, vouch for me. That wasn't kind of how it went down. Anyway, more remains to be seen on that, but just very exciting to see the BCH community producing more and more homegrown projects. All right, we've got to have our quick little drama segment as we follow the ongoing decay in BTC land this week. The NOTS guys have been busy revising their UASF fork plans. Apparently the flag day is going to be February the 1st. So it's like a speed run. This would be the fastest upgrade in BTC history if they do it, or certainly in recent memory, if they do it in 3 months from November, December, January, and then in February, it's already rolling. Of course, it has plenty of controversy and arguing, with some people saying you are nuts and you're going to completely face plant. I'm sort of on that side of the fence, but I'm always willing to give them a little leeway that you don't know what you don't know. So maybe they have more connections or momentum among the plebs than, seems to be enough to me. Thankfully, this whole issue has suddenly, debunked the propaganda that hard forks and chain splits are the same thing. Of course, BCH was demonized for so many years as it was a hard fork, by which they meant a chain split, and hard forks are bad and upgrades are bad and all that. That's now thankfully being washed away as they all kind of grapple with the implications of, wait, this is a soft fork that could split the network. So I'm very glad to hear some, like we saw with Matthew Cratter the other day, listening to the podcast. They are slowly getting the idea. But we even got a little mention of BCH on some recent discussion about this. We have a clip here, Jet, if you can line it up. This is from Pete Rizzo's podcast called Supply Shock. This was the most recent episode. So I do recommend anybody who is deep in the drama or is interested to listen to it, because the whole thing was fantastic. But we're just going to have a short listen to this here.
So in this situation, there isn't.
I agree with Aaron in that there is a choice in something you can do by restricting the current behavior, right? Shinobi, I totally grant and accept your premise that you can't stop people from putting pub keys on chain and that there are more harmful ways of doing it. But the fork proposal as it stands is, I would say, the culmination of, since Casey came out with ordinals and there was this reconciling of people not wanting this behavior to happen on the network, many of us, Shinobi, you and I included, said you're going to need a consensus change to actually stop this in its current form. Not that you can make all data, arbitrary data, go away forever, but the fork was the only real option, with kind of the follow-up of what would the fork even entail, right? I think it's interesting because I listened to last week's episode to get my 40 hours per weekend of you guys talking about this. I don't think it's too coincidental that it was a couple of hours after Luke and Mechanic were on stage talking about this at the Lugano conference that the pull request went out. Because if the pull request went out beforehand, you could have had a substantive conversation in front of a large group of people that actually would have been grounding things, right? But it was very much, once they were off stage, there's no major conference in the near future to have this conversation, the pull request comes out. And at least something is being done, right? You could say what you will about the ideologies of Bitcoin versus Bitcoin Cash. They pulled the trigger, they went and did something, and that blockchain still exists. And they added a bunch of new opcodes and they're doing a bunch of things over there, but they picked up their chips and walked away, right? And so there's something to be said, at least taking action and doing it. Independent of, it seems to be very much in flux, because I was questioning Luke on some of the rules of how this would work with the different layers of the spending trees. And he said, well, that one in Taproot, limiting only 128 leaves, was the most likely to be modified, which at least speaks to, I think it's not too much of a secret, even if he's not literally the person with the GitHub account writing it, he is very heavily writing the code related to this or giving input into the structure of how it works. So independent of who the Dathan Ohm person is, Luke is very publicly talking about the direction in which it's going to be developing. They're trying to figure it out. My observation, if I were to try,
obvious that the Dathan Ohm thing is like, this is all cosplay and sort of making
Shallon Fry 2.0.
Yeah, this is all. I mean, there's been BIP 2017. There's this whole iconography and sort of like they're trying to create this cultural connection to the past.
Yeah,
right? And that's sort of the whole point.
If I were in their shoes and I was trying to get and
there you go. So I mean, quite a few little interesting tidbits in there. Firstly, BCH getting a bit of recognition. Rob Hamilton, the guy speaking here, I met him at OpNext. I don't know if you did, Jet, I actually sat next to him. I had no idea who he was, but he's actually pretty deeply involved in all of that going on. He was a cool guy. I enjoyed talking to him. So it's very interesting to hear them like talk about, oh, they've re-enabled these opcodes. BCH is still there. You know, it's chugging along. Like that's happening in its own thing. Come a long way from, oh, these stupid shitcoiners who just failed and died and never had any good ideas at all, to now like, well, maybe we need to, he doesn't say we need to keep an eye on them, but it's kind of like they're definitely up to something and they're not going away. So, you know, there's something to be said for that. I thought that was quite interesting. Also, the Lugano panel, which of course we reviewed on the show, there's sort of a bit of suspicion going on among the ranks there because Luke and Mechanic refused to say on stage whether or not they would do a consensus change. And then subsequently, this consensus change has come out. And subsequently to that, it's come out that there was already some commits being made before that conference. So they were already kind of maybe cooking on that before the conference, and maybe the conference they were meeting, you know, behind the scenes to get it going. But then now they've only put it out, and they didn't take that opportunity to talk about it on stage after getting called out, which is, of course, creating mistrust, because then other people in the BTC community are like, why aren't you doing this more openly? Why is this sort of this secret project that you're launching? Now, Rob also did this thing where he put up a prediction market this week because he was kind of sick of all the grandstanding about how they were going to, you know, get full consensus and everybody was going to go along with this soft fork. And so he said, right, let's just put some money on the line then. Let's make it a prediction market. And if, you know, your fork activates, you can get my BTC. And if it doesn't, I'll get yours. And they can actually BTC is powerful enough to script that on chain. Nobody was willing to put up the 1 BTC initial offer that he had. So they were just using this other Predix smaller market, which is currently pricing it at, let's see, what, 2% chance of activating. But that's already putting a big dent in my personal confidence, as well as, I guess, the market's confidence, because at the end of the day, money talks. So despite all the furor about this potential UASF and needing to save BTC with this grand change, kind of rushed emergency soft fork, maybe the market isn't agreeing. NeonDaThal, what do you make of this whole thing and in general the drama in BTC land over the years?
What a mess it is. It's interesting, isn't it? Because it's like it's the polar opposite of BCH, in that for over in BTC, it's now the norm to have inaction, drama, and nobody trusting anybody.
Infighting, yes.
Yeah, and so it just seems that like, again, that's what we're getting right. We're getting the opposite for us, is that people are just taking action, building connections with other people. That builds trust. Yeah, and so it seems to, and there have been, don't get me wrong, there've been people in the community who have come in and kind of caused drama and everything else. But they've been kind of few and far between, but they've always been dealt with pretty well, I've felt. And it keeps the canvas clean, and gives people space to build then. And so, yeah, so it's just, I don't know. It's fun to watch. It's a little bit sad at the same time, though. I don't think it's not going to end well for them. But it can only be good for us, really.
What do you make of, you know, this concept of where he said, like, they forked off, they were kind of doing their own thing, they've got all these new opcodes, like, it's not getting into the details of any of what's happening, but there's clearly some awareness starting to spread around, like it's kind of on the horizon, it's on the radar. This is, you know, one step removed maybe from, oh shit, have you seen they built X, Y, and Z like we had at the start of the year? Vlad Kosti also was talking about that. What are these guys building? Is this kind of like these ideas we've had, but they're actually building them? what's like, it's still a bit confusing, but it's kind of like, I don't know, you're in a good position to say from 4 years ago, I feel like we weren't on the radar at all, but times have changed.
I mean, that's what just happens, isn't it? Kind of naturally. But when because they're in such a little bubble, and it's almost, they've been used to a constant circle jerk almost, where they're just kind of they're just promoting their own kind of ideas to each other, and so it's what's been happening is they've just been doing that constantly for so long now. Now that it's starting to, the cracks are starting to show, and we've always known that would happen, that now it's inevitable that some of them are going to start to look around and say, actually, it's like the old "Are we the bad guys?" meme.
Yes.
And so when they do that, then they're going to say, well, what's the most similar kind of mindset to our own? And the first place that they'll look is BCH, and then it's inevitable that some will start to then say, well, God, it'd be nice to be over there and be with them guys, because everything seems so easy for them, and they're shipping all these upgrades. There's a feel-good factor. They're not even kind of looking over their shoulder at us anymore. So something's happening over there. So eventually, it's only going to take one or two, I think, to make the move, or to really talk about what we're doing. And there's a few people already doing it, aren't there? That kind of Moonsettler as well. He kind of talks a lot about the good things that we've done, but still hasn't kind of taken that big leap of faith yet. But yeah, it's just testament to that we are doing the right things. We're on the right path. We're focusing on the right things rather than just kind of congratulating each other for existing, really, which is what they're doing over there, or were doing over there until recently.
Yeah, well, that's right. You know, it's all fun times when everyone's on the same page, prices going up, things are going well, and then once the infighting starts, it's a bit of a downward spiral. Like you say, I take so much out of the community cohesion part of it, and that was one of the reasons why I was very happy to jump in and be more involved in BCH at the time that I was because I saw, okay, at least things have got to an equal state. You know, there's a group of people that are all on the same page. Now, growing that group is a different matter, but the seeds of the block size war kind of coming back to haunt them there in the BTC community, where they never figured out how to cooperate among the sort of good actors on a consistent vision, which ultimately results in shipping upgrades. And then that one in Taproot somehow got through, but then it just created more problems than it solved, even more than they realized, actually, because they're in the inscriptions mess, but it's also got problems with their quantum security, like we've talked about on the show as well too. So between those different things, like, I think it was easy for them to ignore the rest of the world until BCH is just showing that there's a better way of doing it. You know, we just ship an upgrade every year, and unlike altcoins, they can't say, oh, well, it's centralized, Vitalik is deciding the upgrades. Like, there's no way to argue that. So it's just kind of eventually the shadow starts appearing over the shoulder a little bit.
I mean, I think as well, when you look at it as relationships, in relationships, one of the good indicators of how good a relationship all the members of the group have, it's not always how you interact together when things are good. It's how do you act, and how is the relationship when there's disagreement. And I think that's another plus point for BCH is there's a lot of kind of disagreement and arguing goes on over various things, but it's all done in a respectful way, and it's never done in a way that seems to halt progress. That everybody understands that the progress is bigger than the than any disagreements, and so I think that's again another kind of tick on the BCH side, is how we deal with disagreement. I liken it to like I've got the pseudonym NeonDaThal for a reason, which is I like primitive kind of mindsets and instinctual psychology and that sort of thing. So I liken good groups to kind of a wolf pack, where there's a lot of synergy, but there's also a lot of infighting. But as soon as there's a problem, all of the fights go away and everybody kind of the whole pack focuses on the problem. And so I think that like there's a lot to be taken from that. And when you kind of map it onto our community, we get little bits of infighting. Not a lot these days, but when there is disagreement, it doesn't derail the end purpose and kind of the goal of the group, which is, I think, really, really important. Because if the pack starves because you're all fighting, nobody wins.
Yes.
That reminds me, like the relationship comment. I saw a meme the other day. There was like, before you marry anyone, you should break up with them at least once and see how like the turmoil of that impacts your relationship. But it's interesting too about the cohesion thing. Like, Jeremy, I know you pay a lot more attention to all this stuff. Have you seen anyone call Moon Settler or Rob shitcoiners?
They're definitely getting there. I mean,
yeah.
Well, what's happened is it's been fascinating to watch, right? Because it got to a point, communication starts to break down as this issue was heating up, and then they got to this point where they started blocking each other on Twitter, and so then the conversation started to diverge a little bit as you get the sort of there's some people overlapping, but there's the kind of the two different camps are more talking to each other or internally, than talking to each other. And then what they had to do was they created a Telegram group so that they could talk about the fork, so that all the same people could be in the same room and they could talk to each other again because they'd cut off their own links of communication, but then found out, well, at the end of the day, these are the same people we need to convince and deal with. So they all ended up back in the same place again. And now there's been people getting banned from that Telegram group. So it's just a chaotic cycle like that. And yeah, of course, there's a bit of, you're the shitcoiners, you're the attackers. We saw on that Lugano conference, you're the bad actors. And like we saw there with Rob talking about, what were they up to? This was a bit shady that they were meeting up at Lugano and then planning something that they didn't really tell us about. And then now it's come out and now they want us to buy into it. So there is a lot of that dynamic back and forth. And I mean, I sort of think of it like, I would love to do a graphic of this someday. I'll find out a way to do it. But basically, like if you have the BTC community initially in 2009 with little orange dots for everyone, and then it's kind of like you add some gray dots, bad actors, hijackers, and then you kind of had the split. And so then the BTC side is the orange dots, but they still have a bunch of gray dots in them. And then the green side is BCH, probably also had some gray dots, but then we had the BSV split, had the XCC split, and maybe the community got better at finding the gray dots and kicking them out. And then that's when you can start growing, is you can start adding more green dots. And even if one or two gray dots slip in there, they never get to a critical mass because the community is good at identifying, isolating, and getting rid of them, right, over time. But the BTC community never learned that. So they haven't been through that trauma. And so they still have all those gray dots inside their little pool of people. And ultimately, for them to fix the problem, it needs a chain split, which is why it's now what it's kind of coming to. I don't think any of them predicted that. And if you listen to those shows and so forth, they're kind of saying like, I didn't think this was going to get as serious as it was, or that it was going to come to a chain split or whatever, because it's all like, we were all on the same side last time. Like, what happened? And they can't really figure it out. Of course, our theory is the hijacking. That's part of it. But then it's just their face. It's Ayn Rand, you can ignore reality, but you can't ignore the consequences of ignoring reality. And the consequences of not being able to expand as a P2P cash system is that price gains could only paper things over so much. And at a certain point, people are in all these different L2s. They're not really cooperating, conversations breaking down. And yeah, there you go. Like, that's the inevitable result. So I'll be fascinated to see what happens, because it is reminiscent of the block size war, and they also are saying that, where it all started in 2023 with the ordinals. There was 2 years it was sort of under the radar a bit. This year, 2025, it's really ramped up, and then maybe things are going to come to a head next year. That looks to be the way it's going. Like, what are they going to do? They do the UASF. If the Knots guys insta win, that will, I think, be a huge surprise to me. But if they don't, then it's essentially guaranteed at some point to cause a chain split. And then you have what happens? The small side, do they do BCH style? Are they going to grind it out for the next decade on their vision of Bitcoin? Are they all going to rage quit and just leave crypto forever, leaving a sort of half crippled BTC? Are they going to capitulate and go back and be like, well, we tried to split off, but trust me, guys, we won't do it again, but maybe we might. I don't know. Do you have a NeonDaThal, while you're on the show, give us a prediction. Do you have a thought for 2026? What are we gonna see over there?
I don't know if it. I don't know. I don't know if their reputation can be. I don't know if they've got the guts to split.
Yeah.
But after everything that's going on there, that's when I said what a mess, because I don't see that their reputations can be salvaged. I think for their reputations, a split's best, because at least it shows that you've got a bit of conviction about you.
Yes.
But I don't see that happening, and then I think that reputation's just going to be damaged, and also more people are going to start to then question how controlled BTC is, because if it's able to fend off kind of this discontent, then people are going to start to realize that there's kind of a central authority that says you do as we say, and ultimately everybody will just follow it along. So yeah, I don't think they'll split, and I think it'll just be very damaging for personal reputations, I think.
Yeah, that's a decent prediction, I'll say. And a lot of people have that take, that's kind of what this prediction market is all about, is Rob is kind of calling them out as like, look, if you actually are going to split, you need to be prepared, essentially, to put your whole stack on the line, all of your Bitcoin, which of course is basically all the net worth for all the key people who are involved and have been involved this long, right? It's basically all your net worth, and it's all your reputation, all your businesses, a lot of your social clout, essentially. And that's just the bar to self-sovereignly determine your version of Bitcoin. And that's why it's so funny for us to be able to poke them and jeer from the sidelines, is because there is no, it's exactly what Rob said. Like, they took action, they did it, like it or not, they paid the price, they're out, it's like they paid their divorce fees and now they're solo and nothing we can do about it. You kind of got to, while you're still in the relationship, I'm going to leave. It's like, well, it's easy to say, but it's a lot harder if you have to pay, a 99% wealth tax on the way out, right? So I can understand why a lot of people think they won't actually come to a split. But now they're in too deep. Now they're like pot committed, once you've got to the point of we're proposing a fork and we're definitely going to shove it over the line, the only way it's going to work is if you are all in with it. So that's, again, the prediction market is, Rob's point is kind of, he wants to offer them 50-50 odds. And then if they believe in what they're saying, they should take that, because they think that's a 2-for-1, it's free. But if they try and negotiate, if they say to him, well, 1-to-1's a bit much, give us like 3-to-1, then that gives the game away. Then that already shows that they themselves don't think they have a higher than 50% chance of pulling it off, right? So I like this innovation with the prediction market a lot.
How's because was Guru's BCH Guru was going to start doing prediction markets as well, right?
They are. We haven't heard much from them, but they said recently that they were planning to launch end of October and hit that fourth quarter, but then they've said, okay, there were some delays or whatever. It's going to be sometime in November. I'm really looking forward to that. But what I thought then was, watching this go down in the BTC side and the fact that we have prediction markets coming on BCH, is I realized maybe that will be not like sort of the successor to the chip process in a way, is that if we had prediction markets on BCH, you can then create a prediction market. Will the Layla upgrade activate? and people can put their money into it, you know, starting 1 year out, let's say, something like that. And then over time, you would see the money and the market start to converge to yes or no, with people making profit along the way. Like if consensus was looking high, more people are putting money on it. But then if there was a big problem, suddenly it goes the other way, right? And then that would be it. Like we can coordinate economically on an upgrade with very high certainty, because by the time the upgrade goes live with the chip process, people already have all their sort of social reputation on the line. But we can actually make that financial, and then it's virtually guaranteed that it's going to go off without a hitch, right? Which I thought like that's the whole point of prediction markets. I thought that was a very interesting future that we might be moving into, you know?
Yeah, that could work. I think it's it's amazing how many new kind of innovations we can now do, because we're in a position, and again, that's why people are starting to look over and seeing what we're doing over here, because the innovation's there, and we can now be creative with what we come up with as solutions, different to how it maybe was in the past, because there were restrictions and maybe things that couldn't be done. But yeah, it's something that we can now start to innovate, and people will start to look at us for a way forward.
Yeah, because now you can essentially run a chain split without actually doing the split. You can run like a future chain split and still end up with one community at the end, because people can just put their money on the line on XY side, and then after it happens, it happens. And even if there was a dispute, the beauty of a split is that then the prediction market would also spawn onto both sides, right? So then if there was some disagreement, you would still get your coins in your prediction on each side of the disagreement as well too, which would be really interesting. You know, then you could it's just a fascinating dynamic, that idea that we can all coordinate economically. Like I would bet, you know, at 99 to 1 odds, I would bet, you know, some non-trivial amount of money that Layla is going to activate. And if somebody was really contrarian, they could take, you know, the 1% chance that it wouldn't go through, for instance. Like, I just think that would be fascinating to watch. And maybe that's how we'll, you know, or all the different parts, all the sub parts of the upgrade. You could have people, like, you could watch as confidence went up, or like 1 minute blocks. You could watch the community's confidence in real time based on the prediction market, which would all be on chain as well too. So it wouldn't really be like manipulated. That's the problem with these prediction markets now, is that some of them are centralized. And so if they shut it off, or they pick the right side versus the other side that won or whatever, then it, you know, you're all rugged. But we wouldn't have that problem either. So yeah, I'm very excited for Gurus whenever they come out with their stuff. Righto. Okay. Message to the community. Been a long time, you know, given that weight of history and the future of BCH, what does the Bitcoin Cash community need to hear?
I think number one, just keep doing what we're doing. I think we're on the right path. I really do now. I think we're very focused on where we all need to be, and we kind of know more or less the way to get there. But as the saying says, nobody's coming to save you. I think nobody's coming to build it for us. So we need to do it ourselves. It's no good waiting. If you've got an idea, it's no good waiting for somebody else to come up with it and build it for you. You need to go out and find a way to get it built, whether it's yourself or whether it's with other people, and teaming up with other people, because we've got to do it for ourselves. And we've just got a huge opportunity right now to make this happen. We're in such a good place, and we've got all the technical ability that we need. It just needs things to be built that focus on people that need their problems solved, and we can do it. So I think let's just focus on getting to that next level now, where we're starting to actually free people up, and people are going to start coming across to us and seeing what we're doing over here, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so with it being episode 166, you have your Fund Me, and I also want to shill our Fund Me. Shout out to Fund Me, has been doing a great job for the community initiatives. But of course, as always, the show doesn't run for free. It takes us a ton of time and effort and resources to put it all together. So if you're enjoying the show, please consider donating to our Fund Me for the next block of 10 episodes. You can find that at fundme.cash on the homepage, BCH podcast. We have 45% complete already, actually, which I'm thrilled to see even before we announced it on the show. So thank you very much to our existing contributors. Majamalu, this is a marathon. Cash Dragon, Bastion.com, fair and decentralized Twitter, at Cashdams, BCH for the win, and DGN and FurQ, sick rap anthem, #1 token coming at you. P2P Cash, smash the state, greater than 40% APY, https://nwb.cash, eyes emoji. And they were actually crushing it in terms of they were #1 on Cauldron for a while. They're now #2 after Moria again. But there's certainly plenty of activity going on in that little corner of the BCH ecosystem. So once again, fundme.cash, go chip in some coins to the KONK marketplace project and also to the BCH project if you're enjoying both of those. Support appreciation, our donators, our patrons, Ricky, Kyle, and HP, and our sponsor, General Protocols. Check out bchbull.com. If you're new to the show, listen to episode 85. Maybe also go back and listen to episode 38. You can hear NeonDaThal and myself many years ago. Might be an interesting blast from the past, especially if you're newer to the community and you haven't been following the whole history. That would get you some real BCH OG vibes there for sure. Anything else you want to give a final shout out to?
No, just everybody out in the community. It's been a pleasure. It's being a pleasure hanging out with you guys, and yeah, it's just brilliant. Just a load of real quality people to hang out with. So thank you, and thank you both for having me on again.
Oh, good to see you, Jet. Any final shout outs for this week?
I got 3 this week. So first one to Matthew for pointing out that my fulcrum was messed up. Second one to Callisti for pointing me towards the stream module with Nginx. I figured out how to set up fulcrum in a way that doesn't need to handle the SSL. And I have one less reverse proxy service running now in my local network, which is nice. The third shout out is to Colin, who I believe it's in the next week or so will probably see this episode. Got him onto episode 85 a couple days ago, so he's churning through them now. So,
all right, I'm going to give one shout out to my mate Alex, who has been listening to the show for quite a while. I was talking to him, and he said, I sent him some BCH and everything like that. Told him all about it, and he was like, "Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like your channel, blah blah blah." And then he tried to tell all the guys at his work or something like that who were into crypto, like, "Oh no, Bitcoin Cash is the one. Like, trust me, my mates is as well." And they're all like, "No, it's not happening." So that's normal, of course. But he's made some gains because I gave it to him years ago, right? So he's bought in. So shout out, Alex, if you're listening. Hope you're doing well, mate. And also to Blaze, which is going to be starting next week on Saturday. So we're just 6 days away from that. We will do a live kickoff stream at 2 p.m. UTC on Saturday the 15th, also kind of celebrating the Layla lock-in, which I'm pretty hyped for. But if you're not involved in that yet, go to bchblaze.cash, click on the link, go to Dora Hacks, sign up, be a hacker. We've got 75 registered hackers so far, and we have 9 bounties plus 1 coming from someone else. I just haven't posted it up yet, and then plus potentially 1 more. So it might even be up to 11 bounties. There's 5 BCH plus tickets to Bliss on the main track. We've added a new or the chipnet track. We've added a second mainnet track for people that were like, "Oh, my project doesn't necessarily use the upgrades." So now you can win projects in that category or the bounties as well too. So it's now over 10 grand in BCH, more than 20 BCH in the prize pool. So go check that out. That's going to be absolutely awesome, and I'm looking forward to seeing everything that comes out of it. All right, that'll do it for this week. Thank you all for listening. Till next time.
Cryptonana, exit liquidity, hodl nana, dump it all. Cryptonana, exit liquidity, hodl nana, dump it all.
Cryptonana, exit liquidity,
dump it all.
hodl nana, dump it all. From the day we arrive on the blockchain and blinking step into the trade, there's more to lose than can ever be won, more to dump than can ever be saved. Influencers, tweets, and the noobs all follow, buying high, selling low, what a game. But the boomers know, and Sailor, he knows that the dump is coming. It's all the same. It's the circle of exit liquidity, and it moves us all through despair and hope, through faith and FOMO, till we find our place on the path unwinding in the circle of exit liquidity. Some of us fall by the wayside, and some of us soar to the stars, but the influencers always win with the Lambos and their cars. So beware of the pump and the inevitable dump, for the cycle continues and the news get wrecked. Cryptonana, exit liquidity, hodl nana, dump it all. Cryptonana, exit liquidity, hodl nana, dump it all. Cryptonana, exit liquidity, dump it all. hodl nana, dump it all. It's the circle of exit liquidity, and it moves us all through despair and hope, through faith and FOMO, till we find our place on the path unwinding in the circle of